graduated from Spring like 2 years ago, so I'm 20. And
Welcome everybody to the special city council work session for October 6th, 2025. Marie, would you call the roll?
Fritz,
Here.
Lowe, here. McLaughlin,
Here.
Manetza.
Here. This evening we have a presentation by Rachel Doty on the Grand Haven Children's Museum proposal to utilize a portion of Central Park Place. Ashley, would you like to introduce this or should we just call up Rachel?
I can just very briefly, as you mentioned, this evening is a public and informational presentation based on the proposal that the city received from the Grand Haven Children's Museum. As noted in your memo, tonight's presentation is informational. We would seek to find out what your feedback is this evening, any clarifications, questions, and ideally if there's some sort of consensus, as we would look to come back before you at your October 20th meeting to seek direction as to whether or not we negotiate lease details with the Grand Haven Children's Museum.
Okay, thank you.
And Rachel can delve further into the details.
All right, Rachel, you're up. Please come up and introduce yourself.
Hello. All right, good evening. Thank you for having us here tonight. I'm Rachel Doty from the Grand Haven Children's Museum, and I'm joined by Elizabeth Griffin. Jim Horman, our architect from Progressive Companies, he's also here with us tonight. He'll be joining us in the Q&A if you have any questions to address to him or anything that he needs to speak to. Many of our board members are also with us tonight, so thank you for being here. So we're here tonight, as Ashley said, to present a lease proposal that we believe is a win-win for the museum, for the city of Grand Haven, and for its residents. Let's see if I can figure this out. Okay. So our mission is to engage all children with hands-on learning experiences that spark imagination, pique curiosity, enhance creativity, and develop problem-solving skills in a place of beauty, wonder, and joy. And so the key word there is a place. So we are looking for a home to accomplish that mission. You can see mine. Okay. All right. We need a large space in the heart of the community where kids and families can gather together to play, learn, and connect in community with one another. The majority of the museum will be exhibits, with the remaining space supporting an art studio and maker space and operations for the museum, creating an accessible year-round destination. So I'm excited to share that we recently selected an experienced exhibit planner. So once we finalize the location, they'll lead an on-site design charrette to hear the community's vision for the museum, then translate that vision into detailed plans, and then they'll fabricate and install those exhibits. So it was during your priority setting session late last year that Council Member Lowe suggested Central Park Place as a potential home for the Children's Museum, highlighting the desire to align city resources with your pillars of excellence. Council Member McLaughlin said, could Central Park Place, be a marriage of two things, both a children's museum and a place for community? Mayor Manetza closed the conversation by saying, let's see what sort of proposals come forward. And so tonight, I'm glad to be sharing that proposal with you. It's the result of many, many conversations over many months and lots of hard work and planning by our property search committee. So we're excited to share that proposal with you because we believe this lease proposal can be a hopeful marriage of two things. It'll help Central Park Place realize its full potential in the service of the Grand Haven community, maximizing its community impact. What we're proposing is more than a lease. It's a public-private partnership that brings long-term civic value, eases the city's operational budget, boosts year-round activity and vibrancy, and helps connect downtown to Centertown. Most importantly, we think it fulfills a long-standing community desire, giving Grand Haven families something they've wanted for a long time, a local children's museum. So Bruce Schultz was planning to be here tonight, but he's not able to make it. But I wanted to let you know, Bruce Schultz was invited to be on our property search committee because he has moved to Grand Haven just 3 years ago, but he has over 35 years of experience in development in Chicago, San Francisco, and Washington, D.C. So over the past year, he has been instrumental in our search, and I wish you could meet him. He's just like so knowledgeable. Over the past year, our property search committee conducted an extensive review process of all viable downtown options, and Central Park Place quickly rose to the top as our leading choice, not only for its prime downtown location, but for its flexible layout and for the unique opportunity to reimagine a public asset. So the proposed lease, we're proposing to lease about 13,500 square feet of Central Park Place, which would become the permanent home of the Children's Museum. The lease would begin with an initial 10-year term with five-year renewal options that would ensure long-term stability. This was his part, so. During construction, the museum would pay $2,150 a month in rent, but once operational, the rent would transition to $1 a year, at which point the museum would take on a percentage of ongoing operational costs, including utilities, trash, and snow removal. Make sure I'm going in the right way. Okay. So in addition to the lease of the current space, the museum plans to fully fund and construct a main level expansion to create a dedicated child-friendly entrance off the front courtyard. The capital project, estimated between $1.5 to $2 million, would come at no cost to the city and would be privately funded. Once completed, the improvements would become property of the city, significantly enhancing the value and utility of the building. Importantly, our proposal preserves key things that we heard were important for the city. So the theater, the Mackinac Room that comes with the catering kitchen, the central hallway, the restrooms, and the office space and storage. Additionally, in addition to the theater, the lower level theater operations that go along with the theater. So as we built our vision, we looked closely at other benchmark children's museums, focusing on the Curious Kids Museum in St. Joe, Michigan. So they have 12,600 square feet of exhibit space and attract 85,000 visitors a year. And we also looked at the Grand Rapids Children's Museum, which they have a large building, but 14,000 square foot of it is exhibit space. So a lot of it is storage and operations. And they have 150 to 200,000 visitors a year. So we felt very comfortable with the portion of the building that would be available to us, which would be 13,500 square feet, and potentially expand up to 18,500 square feet. So our plan is to start on a scale comparable to St. Joseph's Children's Museum with room to grow as we see the demand increasing. And we think Central Park Place offers the size and flexibility to do just that. So we believe the proposal directly advances the city's fiscal and community goals. First, the museum's occupancy will significantly lower the city's operating costs. And we project by 2027, 2028 that it would save the city approximately $128,000 a year with the shared utilities and reducing your staffing needs. Secondly, all renovations, as I said, including the expansion and exhibit build-outs, would be privately funded with no tax increase, no millage request, no financial risk to the city. The city retains ownership of the building and the value increases. But finally, this transforms Central Park Place into a more strategic civic asset, attracting many tens of thousands of visitors to Grand Haven, to what promises to be a regional destination for kids and families and for community engagement. And finally, I know it's important right now for the city, I know you guys are looking to enhance the downtown Centertown connection. We feel like the museum with that visitorship located at Central Park Place would be a natural connector, strengthening that connection, enhancing walkability, encouraging foot traffic, and boosting public engagement. So With that, I'm gonna turn it over to Elizabeth Griffin to discuss projected benefits to the community and to the city.
All right, thank you. Hello, everybody. It's great to be here. Thank you for having us. As Rachel said, I'm Elizabeth Griffin. I am a proud member of the Grand Haven Children's Museum Board and also a member of the Grand Haven community. I'm a resident of the city of Grand Haven. I'm a GHAPS parent, and I work closely with families in the community in my work as the children's librarian at Loudoun District Library. So the Children's Museum that we propose would bring many benefits to the community. It would be a welcoming space for children of all abilities and their families, featuring play-based exhibits that reflect Grand Haven's unique identity. So we envision a museum that celebrates what makes our city and our region so special in a way that's accessible and exciting to our youngest citizens and visitors. More than just an attraction, its presence will send a clear message that Grand Haven is a vibrant, supportive, and welcoming place for young families. And unlike our more seasonal destinations, the museum will help keep downtown vibrant and active throughout the year. Our proposal is supported by a wide range of community members. We've received letters of support from our local school districts, businesses, parent groups, nonprofit partners, and community leaders, all of whom recognize the museum's potential to bolster our community. Our community survey also showed clear and overwhelming public support and desire for a local children's museum. And this support goes beyond just words. We've already secured seed funding, including founding contributions from influential community members who believe in the project and are helping to drive it forward. Together, these endorsements, early investments, and survey results reflect a recognized need, widespread community support, and a shared belief in the museum's long-term benefit to the community. Children's museums are more than just places for learning and play. They are also strategic civic investments that stimulate local economies and make communities more attractive to families, visitors, and employers. Currently, the nearest children's museums are 45 minutes to an hour away. They're in Grand Rapids, South Haven, St. Joseph, and Ludington. So in addition to this making them inaccessible to much of our community, this fact also presents a unique opportunity. Because none of our immediate neighbors have anything similar, Grand Haven can fill this regional gap and establish itself as a uniquely family-focused destination among the lakeshore. Children's museums have the benefit of being year-round attractions that generate consistent foot traffic regardless of season or weather. This is something that families in our area are sorely lacking and that would benefit the city as well. Projections show the Grand Haven Children's Museum could generate $5.8 million in annual economic impact, with those benefits concentrated locally. Visitors don't just stop at a museum. They also dine at local restaurants, shop nearby, refuel, and often incorporate their visit into longer and even overnight stays. This consistent traffic directly supports local businesses, strengthening our economy. Over time, children's museums also boost nearby property values, increasing the local tax base and enhancing neighborhood appeal. They make communities more attractive to both homebuyers and business investors, especially those seeking to attract and retain a young, talented workforce. In short, this project is a smart investment in Grand Haven's long-term vitality. It will help shape a vibrant future for our city. And Grand Haven isn't alone in this vision. Across the country, municipalities are recognizing that children's museums are a valuable part of the civic infrastructure. Cities like Ann Arbor, Baltimore, Little Rock, Arkansas, and Durango, Colorado, as well as many others, currently partner with children's museums through long-term lease agreements, public funding, and creative reuse of city-owned buildings. These communities recognize that investing in children's museums means investing in their community's future. The City of Grand Haven has the chance to join them by creating a space where families and communities thrive. Turn it back over to Rachel.
Okay, thanks Elizabeth, and thanks for having us here tonight. So, we believe the museum's presence can transform Central Park Place into a year-round destination for families while continuing to offer the vital community spaces it does today. We're excited about what this can bring to Grand Haven. We have a committed board, dedicated volunteers, and expert partners in architecture, exhibit design, and fundraising. We're ready to move forward. We thank you for your consideration, and we respectfully ask for your support and timely approval. To close, we'd love to share a short video with you. We filmed this summer, and it features candid moments with community members, community members who we met downtown and at the Imagination Station. And I'm not sure how to play that, so Dana.
Yes.
Thank you. And then we look forward to your questions after the video. Thank you very much.
Is this the view through the window? It's very nice.
It was playing.
Hi, Kirsten. I'm Amber.
Hi.
Hi.
I live in Grand Haven. I have a 4.5-year-old and a 2-month-old. I'm part of Moms Club, own my own flower business in town. Yeah, we're around, like I can't go anywhere without someone knowing me. Harper and Harper.
My name's Margaret. I graduated from Spring Lake 2 years ago, so I'm 20. And I've grown up in the community in Spring Lake.
My name is Caleb. I wasn't quite born, but lived most of my whole life here. I attended Grand Haven schools, and I work in the downtown district, and I work specifically at Mac Kite. I'm a professional 5-year-old, is what I like to say.
I love that.
I'm Sue Stromberg, and this is my husband.
Stromberg.
And we both live in Grand Haven, and we actually babysit our grandkids. So that's how we're connected to kids and Grand Haven.
Chris Merritt, and I am the grandparents of Caden and Grayson Merritt. My son Aaron and his wife Heather live right down the street here.
My son is really into like hands-on, like all the science stuff, how things work. He loves going to hands-on museums where he can actually play with things and not just look at them. And he just likes to know like how all the pieces work together. So we have to drive probably about 30 to 45 minutes to get to a children's museum, at least. And it's really hard, right? Like with little kids, and they can't last that long in the car. So we're excited to have a children's museum in our area. In the wintertime, all of us moms are looking for somewhere to go. So like off season, in the fall, in the spring, in the winter, it would be nice to have somewhere else to go because we really need it. You know, we need it not just for us, but communities around us as well.
You know, growing up, winters have been the hardest for me. And even as a child, like not having many outlets to, you know, go out and do something. And just being stuck inside and almost like that cabin fever type of feeling that really affected me the whole winter. Like I struggled all the way through school since I can remember. Just like having those fun alternatives and those fun outlets. And there's just so many children that aren't, you know, they don't want to just sit down in a classroom and be stuck in a chair. They're so creative and they're brilliant. These brilliant minds, like to just instill in them from such a young age that the possibilities are endless. I think it's a fabulous idea because there's all these places for adults to go. But then when you think about it, there's not really any place for children to go. It's so needed.
It's absolutely essential to kids and to their families that they have playtime in their lives, right? Studies, especially recently, have shown kids need to develop mesh skills. And they develop these things through play, mental, emotional, and social health, right? Play strengthens these things. This is obviously important, and everybody should be operating from that position, that playtime is valuable and playtime is important. Playtime is absolutely essential, and learning and education, if you can intertwine all these things, that's just going to be great.
Well, I taught kindergarten for 34 years, and the hands-on learning is just so important. If you see your kids learn and enjoy things, then you incorporate them into your homes or your lifestyles, and
I think I learned a lot by being involved with children's museums.
I think it's important not only for their development, but as well as, just curiosity and all the things children need at their age. Well, our children are our future, aren't they? So, I mean, you don't get a bigger investment than our children. And I believe every child deserves that opportunity as well.
It should be accessible to everybody, especially people who aren't able to afford a lot of things. There's so many restaurants, there's so many clothing stores, but that's for the kids, inside. Like, we've got a few great months of summer, and then most of them you're inside, and it's like, okay, the library where children have to be quiet, and it's hard to keep kids quiet. They want to be loud, they want to express themselves, so in a way that they can just be able to be kids,
And maybe one could be beach themed. Yeah. And with little beach balls and stuff. Toys to play with in the sand. Yeah. And there could be a bubble section. Colorful and welcoming.
Everyone can benefit. The schools can benefit, the community can benefit. So maybe it's just having that knowledge and seeing the potential. And I also just retired after 36 years in middle school and high school, and was a middle school principal for a long time. And just to get kids out in the community to learn that there's so much more than just classroom learning. So if the community can be part of that with our kids, I think it's just such a win-win for everybody. I just think it's, any community that can show that they put kids in top priority and they bring engagement of learning, and it's about just having kids learn and being excited about it and showing the whole community this commitment to kids. That's really important.
Rachel, would you like to come back to the podium?
All right.
Okay, so let's open this up to questions and comments from council members at this point. We can have a little bit of dialogue here. Who would like to start?
First of all, I just want to say thank you, Rachel, and to your entire board for coming back with such a great proposal. It's really clear you listened not just to those of us who were very supportive and wanted you to be here, but to some of the concerns that some of my fellow council members had, and tried to address those in here. So I really appreciate that. I think it's clear, and I think we heard it at Chinook Pier, that our community wants a children's museum. And while that site wasn't, I didn't feel that site was the best site for that children's museum. I remained very supportive of this, and I think this is a fabulous idea, and I do agree it's a win-win when we do have an issue with an underutilized public asset, and that is Central Park Place, and I think this is a wonderful way to kind of pull it all together, so thank you, I'm very supportive of this.
Long time coming, huh? As you know, I'm very supportive of the Children's Museum. I'm even more encouraged by the Discovery Center. I happen to have been part of one in Binghamton, New York, and it's been there for about 25, 30 years, and it is a huge success. It draws a tremendous amount of kids and adults into that location, which is part of a zoo, which is outside the city. So the downtown surely doesn't get any real real help from that. But in this case, you're gonna be right downtown. And I really think your connection to Centertown makes all the sense in the world. I think if people are concerned about the $1, I think that people have to start to look at what our cost is in that building. Every year I sit in the budget sessions and say, how can we afford $300,000 to $400,000 a year in an absolute underutilized building? And this cuts our costs, and I think it's probably be more than this, but I think it's gonna cut our costs dramatically. And I think it's a great idea. I do think that in your in your planning and in your construction, we won't, myself and Karen won't be around to make these decisions. But I would think that you'd probably want to separate the utilities. That way there's not any question of how much of public money you're using. And then develop, some CAM charges, which is pretty standard. That way,
Sorry.
CAM charges, common area maintenance
Oh, okay.
charges.
Bruce would,
Alright?
Bruce would know that.
Yeah, he would. I think that probably makes a little bit more sense. I'm not sure what the cost would be, but I think it's something that you may wanna consider. Lastly, all members that are running for city council sitting in this room tonight. I really hope that when this comes before you, that you make the right decision. Because if you make the wrong decision, I think you're making an absolute disservice to this community. And we'll be making a huge mistake. So I really hope that we can move this forward, and I hope that it can be approved by city council and administration. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin.
Beat that.
I was a supporter of you guys right from day one, hoping it would happen down on the waterfront. That was one of the things that I thought was really a good position for it, but I was just one. Anyways, we have an area downstairs there that we built for the senior center, and it's not been used very much at all. It's been vacant on and off for quite a bit, and so it's actually a good place for you guys to move into and expand on it. I'm looking forward to seeing how it's gonna turn out. I'll be here for the next 2 years, so I'll have
You'll be here for the next 20 years if you have any say.
Who knows if they keep putting me in, it's all right, if that's what they want, but anyways, I don't know about, you're probably correct on dividing up the utilities and stuff, but it's something you have to look at. But whatever it is, it's been a drain for us. But the very, very first building, when they very first built it, it was called a community center. It wasn't because it was gonna cost us a lot. We knew it was gonna cost. I think the best we ever did was 50% is what we ever made on it. We never got anywhere, we were breaking even. But it was for the community, and that's what it's all about. And the Children's Museum is part of the community, so I think it's really good for us to look forward to that. There's some little details in here we gotta work out yet, but your proposals looks pretty good. And I'm looking forward to seeing how everything else turns out.
All right, well, I'll take my last 2 minutes before I have to close the session. We can continue this during the regular meeting if we need to go around some more. I think right now we're giving a general reaction, and we'll hopefully be able to give some direction to our city staff for negotiation purposes. I have said all along, I think that the Children's Museum will be an asset for the community. I think it'll be well received and successful. I don't really think it even matters where it is, it will be a good draw for the city. And I think taking a portion of the existing community center, Central Park Place, utilizing it for this purpose is probably a good fit. And I encourage you to come back with a proposal, and you have. I think there's a lot of details that need to be negotiated. I, for one, am concerned about that $1 per year. So we can figure out what might work for that. I think that it can be something negotiated between our parties in good faith, that we can come up with both financial arrangements and physical arrangements which can be made to work. It's been my contention all along that community center is an essential function of the city, and that it has to be able to function even after the split. So whether this is exactly the way it should be or not, I kind of floated the idea of the community center board for more feedback. Really didn't get a lot from them, but some of the things they do, we want to make sure that we can still do. Some of the things that may be, I think you've asked for a right of first refusal to utilize some of the space if the community center isn't using it, so we could possibly rent further space on a temporary basis. There's a lot of little things like that can be worked out. So I would encourage some good negotiation, but I do think there's a lot of details that are gonna have to be addressed. The common area maintenance is one of those. Separating utilities, I don't know how practical that is. That's a pretty big undertaking. I think that there's probably better ways to address it than physically separating them, but without looking at the details of that again, devils in the details, so there's a lot to be worked out. I think that the proposal is a good starting point, but I see it as a starting point rather than as a final agreement, so I would hope that we can bargain in good faith on this one, because I think there is benefit to both the city and the Children's Museum. I think that we can find something that will be beneficial to all parties. So that's kind of my thoughts on the matter. I don't know if anybody wants to say more, or if you want to stick around. It's 7:30 now, so I need to roll into our regular meeting. But if anybody wants to bring this back at the appropriate time in our regular meeting, we can. But if we're all satisfied with the discussion where it is today, we'll probably pick it up again at our next meeting and give some specific direction to city staff as to what we think we should be doing for our next step. Does that sound good?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks everyone for your feedback and thanks for the opportunity to talk with you.
No, we appreciate the presentation. We appreciate your interest. We think that we got something that's gonna work out.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Be in touch.
All right, and on that note, I'm going to close the special work session and we will roll into our regular meeting. So at this point, I will open the regular city council meeting for October 6th, 2025. And Marie, would you call the roll?
Fritz,
Here.
Lowe,
Here.
McLaughlin.
Here.
Manetza.
Here. This invocation this evening by Pastor Tim Taylor. Pastor Tim Taylor here? I haven't seen him yet. All right, well, we would have had an invocation. Instead, we will please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So it brings us to new appointments to boards and commissions. Marie, would you read this?
Your mic doesn't sound.
What's that?
A mic doesn't sound like it's on.
Is my mic not working?
It's up there in the ceiling right now.
Or is there too much background noise? All right, let's start again. I will talk louder. How about that? Brings us to our new appointments to boards and commissions. Marie, would you read that, please?
Item A, appoint Jerry Ashcraft to the Lake Forest Cemetery Board with a term ending June 30, 2028.
Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Lowe, second by McLaughlin. Questions, concerns about this appointment?
Only question I have is that she is works for Clausen Funeral Home. Is that gonna be any kind of hard, any kind of you could have?
So I requested specific opinion from the city attorney on this. He felt that it wasn't necessarily a conflict of interest, but that if something specific came up, which was a business issue with Clausen, that she would have to recuse herself. And so that was the opinion I got from the attorney, because I had the same feeling.
Okay, it's very good, Bob. Thank you.
Any questions?
Nope.
Please call the roll.
Lowe,
Yes.
McLaughlin,
Yes.
Fritz,
Yes.
Manetza.
Yes. All right, so evidently we were satisfied with the work session. If we're not continuing. If somebody wants more to say. All right, then we'll move on to our first call to the, we'll go to our approval of consent and regular agenda. You got me off my game. Can I get a motion to approve the consent and regular agenda?
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Fritz, second by Lowe. Anything that we need to alter on either the consent or regular agenda?
Just a clarification, we are having a public hearing on the property in the 224 Washington location, but we're not considering anything at this time, is that correct?
Correct, for the economic incentive policy, no action is to be taken on the same evening as a public hearing, so it will come back to the next meeting.
Did I have changes?
Okay, anyone else? Please call the roll.
Fritz,
Yes.
Lowe,
Yes.
McLaughlin,
Yes.
Manetza.
Yes. Now we'll have our first call to the audience. This time, members of the audience may address council on any item, whether on the agenda or not. Those addressing council are asked to provide their name and address. Will be limited to 3 minutes of speaking time. Council will reserve all comments for future consideration. Will not have a response at this time. Was not physically present, would like to call in, may dial 616-935-3203.
Hello, Richard Clapp, 217 Grand Ave. I have a quick question regarding the public hearing on 224 Washington. Will there be time for public commentary?
Yes, during the public hearing, the floor will be open to people who wish to comment on that specific issue.
All right, I'll speak at that time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, anyone who is interested in speaking to that particular issue should probably wait until we open the public hearing, but you're certainly entitled to speak now.
Hi, Jean Madden, 1625 Gladys. I'm not speaking about forest management for a change. I'm here tonight because I'm really excited as a prospective grandparent, nothing in the works yet, to have the Children's Museum, and I think it's a great use for Central Park Place. Win-win for the city and the community. I work part-time at the Y, and I love organizations that bring healthy activities to our community. I just think it's really exciting for the city, so thank you.
Thank you. Who else would like to address council? And if no one is, we will have another opportunity to speak during the public hearing, and at the end of the meeting will be another call to the audience. But this is your last opportunity to talk to us, so before we take action on items. No one else is coming forward, then we will move on. So now we have on our agenda a presentation by the Grand Haven Area Convention and Visitors Bureau with Marcy Cisnero.
Are those each for council? Marcy, the clicker is on here if you need to move the slides forward.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Mayor Manetza and council members. Thank you so much for having me here tonight. My name is Marcy Cisneros, and I serve as the Executive Director of the Grand Haven Area Convention and Visitors Bureau. I'm here to talk about our nonprofit organization, a little bit about who we are, what we do, and why it's important for our area. The folder that you will receive, just to make you aware and give you a little more insight and some tangible materials, is our annual visitor guide. So this is produced each year and does a pretty good job of capturing all the things to see and do in our area. Also included is a copy of our tourism marketing program. Again, a little more insight into what we do and who we are. And then just for your reference, this is an October newsletter. This is something our organization has been producing for 19 years. And it happens each month. There are a couple months in the year where we have to combine the months. But really kind of takes all the events happening in our district and puts them in one friendly place so that businesses in town, we have kind of a list that we email this out to once a month, have an opportunity to be more familiar with what's happening in the area. Our organization was established in 1986 under Public Act 59 of Michigan in 1984. This legislation caused our organization to come together and is going to be celebrating its 40th year in operation next year. The district we represent includes Grand Haven, Spring Lake, Ferrysburg, Nuniga, Coopersville, Allendale, and West Olive. We are funded 100% by the current 2% assessment collection from area lodging properties in the previous mentioned communities. Those who own or operate a lodging property or a collection of lodging properties with 10 or more rooms or units are mandated to pay the 2% according to the Michigan legislation. Those who operate a business of less than 10 rooms or units can also be an assessment payer, but must do so with a special agreement. This assessment fee is passed on to overnight guests and then remitted to the Visitors Bureau, which affords us in return to market and promote the area to future guests. Our organization's mission and vision statement are outlined here. It is the mission of the Grand Haven Area Convention and Visitors Bureau to promote and market the Grand Haven area as the Midwest's best overnight destination for leisure stays, meetings and events, tourism-related activities year-round by providing services, resources, and tools that foster an environment for area businesses to deliver the ultimate visitor experience. The Grand Haven area vision statement is that we will be a leader in tourism and the most desirable four-season destination in Michigan where you can unwind, relax, and enjoy the great outdoors. We have a great board of directors, which is largely made up of lodging owners and managers with 2 at-large seats. Our chair, Sheila McNally, owner Serendipity Resorts and Suites. Vice Chair, Carla Constantine, at-large member, former owner of Carlson Wagenlit Travel at Spring Lake. Treasurer, Linda Weavers, owner of Blue Water Inn and Suites. Secretary, Tony Sicantelli, owner at Washington Street Inn. Their fellow board members, Autumn Cumsey, General Manager, Best Western Beacon Inn, Eric Scott, General Manager, Baymont Inn and Suites, Jamie Osterman, Director of Operations at Jakeway Vacation Rentals, Jessica Vangenhoven, Member at Large, Coordinator of Community Engagement at Ottawa County Parks and Rec, and staff members, myself as Executive Director, Jennifer Kiefer as the Visitor Experience and Communications Specialist. We also have interns generally throughout the year, mostly summer interns, but not always exclusively. 1 for sand sculpture contest, and 2 for marketing and media. Our visitor center is at 512 Washington Avenue, located right across the street from City Hall. And we purchased the building in May of 22, moved in July of 22, relocating our visitor center and offices. And we love having our own space, and we love being across from City Hall. Although we focus on visitors, we really do encourage residents to stop by as well. We often think of residents as ambassadors when they're inviting their family or their friends to come visit. We really want them to come in themselves so that we can educate and inform them about the things to see and do in the area. But at the very least, be knowledgeable that we exist so they can at least send their friends and families to us so that we can assist them and help make their stay as enjoyable as possible. It is our primary job to get visitors to choose the Grand Haven area, and we can assist them in their vacation planning, and we can also provide a further assistance once they arrive through our visitor center. So if you haven't stopped by yet, it's just across the street. Stop in and say hello. So on the next slide, we're going to talk about the current assessment payers. This is our lodging community. And we have a fantastic lodging community with diverse offerings. Diverse offerings and price ranges, levels of amenities, and thus offering varying experience for the guests. Here you can see we have 17 current assessment paying members with nearly 700 rooms and units to choose from. Lodging properties range from hotels, bed and breakfast, vacation rentals, and cabins, as well as now we have yurts and tree houses to add to the list. So from a director's standpoint, it's a well-diverse portfolio of lodging options for our guests. So on this next slide, we're going to talk a little bit about website advertising, social media, and visitor impact. I'm going to cover some statistics. And while I know I don't have enough time to go over all the stats we have to share, I did pull some that I thought might be of interest. The data being shared is going to be reflective of our last complete year, so 2024, with some comparisons to 2023. So this really looks at our website as a primary source of data, looking at the top 10 states. Per our website stats, in-state visitors are at the top of the list for both 23 and 24. Please note that you'll need to disregard Virginia. I did leave it in there, but unfortunately it's bot traffic, but I didn't want it to skew the tally. So I chose to keep it in there. But the rest of the rest of the states on this list are representative of visitor traffic that is known in historic markets for our area. So total users totaling 411,917 for 24 compared to 261,979 for 23. Our top 15 content pages based on views. Why this slide is important, because out of 173 published pages, 805 listings, 795 events, and 175 blog posts on our website each year, these are the ones that visitors are most interested in. We had approximately 1.2 million views in 24, 753,000 in 23. As you can see, the home page is the obvious one to be on top there. But I'm always fascinated by what follows. What are people really interested in? And as you can see, events are right up there. Followed by things to do, our top 10 list, vacation rentals, attractions, hotels, motels, food and drink, city beach, and so on. Our top 5 traffic sources, this really is representative of how well our SEO has been working for us. You can see the organic search option really is the primary way people find us, and what that represents is you go to your choice search engine, we'll just call it Google for now, and you just type in something like Grand Haven beaches or Grand Haven things to do. We pull high in that ranking, and because of that, people find us that way. The second best thing is they come to us directly, which is what's next on the list. They know our URL and they type it in. They either know it because, primarily because of our advertising, or maybe they're a return visitor and they know that's where they need to go to get information. Organic social is representative of our social media efforts, and display is representative of some display advertising we had done. The lodging highlights section, really kind of, I just pulled those together to help identify people's interest when it comes to lodging. Vacation rentals has been high on the list for a while, followed by hotels, motels. Our overall stay section, again, I'm still talking about the website, bed and breakfast, and then Blue Water Inn had enough independent interest that their individual listing actually rose to the top. So that was really nice to see. And then on this slide, you can see some examples of our 2024 advertising. And this can be a combination of print ad, digital ad, placements. We've been working with Stevens Advertising for several years now. And we have an incredible group of photographers. And we are really we're blessed that they allow us to use their images to help tell our story. And so we are constantly meeting new photographers and working with them and purchasing use of the images so that we can tell our story. So it's with the effort of the photographers, the CVB staff, and Stevens Advertising that we were able to come up with some strong graphics to use for advertising. And on this slide, you can see that the Grand Haven Visitors Bureau's social media, switching gears to social media now, is comparing to some of our competitive communities. But this slide in particular is really talking about social media visits and content interactions. And it's representing 2024 compared to 2023. So for Facebook, we had significant growth in 24 compared to 23, and the same for Instagram. When we look at the interactions, it was the opposite. We actually had less interactions in 24 compared to 23. And while we don't fully understand why that is, we do kind of recognize that, we have the potential to move that bar a little bit by engaging more with people. And that's really what's most helpful when we bring the interns in as well, is training them to communicate more with potential visitors ultimately. So here is the part that we talk a little bit about in comparison to other communities, to the north as well as to the south. And so looking at Grand Haven, and this is specific to Facebook, 73,000 followers. And that is shows a growth over 2023. And that is true for all the communities. As you can see there, we're specifically doing a comparison with South Haven, Saugatuck, Holland, and Ludington. And while they all did experience growth, we just have a larger Facebook following than they do. And so that's really most helpful in situations where, we don't have a large budget, we're a small nonprofit. So these low cost, no cost methods of advertising and putting information out in front of residents and guests, we just have a larger audience to share that with. And so that's advantageous to us as a destination. Same here, this is for Instagram, but same type of a chart, looking at the different communities and looking at the following there. And as you can see, we do well with the following that we have compared to the other communities. This chart is really, this slide is looking at our guest book. So at our visitor center, as I mentioned across the street, we do get a lot of walk-in traffic. It's not exclusive or inclusive. I mean, we try to get people to sign the logbook. So this is really representative of those who have signed the logbook. And as you can see, we have visitors from approximately 30 out of the 50 states. And we did have visitors in from 5 different countries. I don't see Germany and China on there. I think we typically do have visitors from there, but I would say our international travel is down. Okay, so now we're moving into our travel expenditures and visitor spending. These next 4 slides really outline some estimated projections for economic impact as it relates to 2023 and 2024 spending. This first slide shows how visitor spending looks for our area based on the month. And while the next slide will show the same numbers, the 59.7 million, but it'll show it based on sector. So no surprise, July is our predominant month in terms of travel, followed by August, then followed by June. And so again, this is the 59.7 million, and it's divided out by lodging sector. So lodging, food and beverage, transportation, entertainment and recreation, and then other spending. Now keep in mind, this is an older economic impact formula that we are using, but it does provide a projection that we believe is representative of how important the visitor economy is to our area. And one thing too, just before I kind of move on to the next set of slides, the driver for this is a real number. So in terms of projections and economic impacts, for those that deal with that, that can often be hard to find. You take projections and you put it into a projection formula and you get a really broad projection. But at least this one starts with a real number. So the real number are the assessments that we collect based on each year. It's from that point that it's a projection. This is looking at 24. This is the monthly breakdown. We were down in 24, unfortunately. Coming off of the pandemic, we were pretty quick to recover. I think we just kind of hit that mark, and we had been making, again, according to our assessment collections, particularly for the lodging community, had been recovering and doing quite well until last year, and that kind of just slowed down for us and dipped a little. So that's the difference you see in the 58.2 million. And again, broken out by sector for the 2024 travel expenditures. Visitor economic impact. So this is something I wanted to share for those that were a little bit more interested in kind of following along about how the state travel numbers look. So I won't go into great detail on this. It's not my slide, but it's really good information that kind of breaks down kind of all the key findings that Travel Michigan, our state travel department, also produces stats and presentations each year. So you can kind of see there how the visitor dollar works and the type of impact that it has on a state level. So this slide, it was especially of interest to me and I thought worth sharing and talking a little bit more about. And what I like about this slide, I was also able to garner from Travel Michigan's report from Tourism Economics. And the reason I included this slide is because I think it's important to reference how valuable that overnight guest is, particularly when compared with the day tripper. So while day tripper is an important factor kind of in the overall economic impact of travel and tourism, you can see, or maybe it's kind of small, but hopefully you can see that the overnight guest has a significantly more, has a greater impact than the day tripper. So based on their research and their findings, they found that the day tripper, for example, would spend $85 a day. You know, they come into town, they do some shopping, maybe they hit the beach, grab lunch and go home. They're from the region. They clearly can drive in and out and go back home and not have to spend the night. But the overnight guest spends on average $440 per person per night. And so, they need generally everything when they come. And if they're staying for multiple days, that adds up pretty fast. This is a little bit more information about the economic impact model. Again, Travel Michigan and Tourism Economics. It's another slide from them. And I included this for those that might be a little more interested in the economic impact. And what I like about this one is it talks about direct, indirect, and induced spending. And, the difference between those really is, to give you some examples, like direct spending would be when a visitor rents a room at a lodging property. And indirect spending would be what that lodging property has to spend in goods and services to accommodate that visitor. And induced spending is when that front desk local employee pays their bills or goes shopping for some new shoes with that check they earned because that visitor came to visit. So there's 3 different ways you can look at how a visitor impacts this community and the surrounding communities. And the way they've divided it up into those 3 categories, I felt like was a a good way to help people understand. Something we're pretty excited about is our new website's coming. The end of the month is the plan, but I'm gonna call it fall just to be safe. But we did receive a grant through Travel Michigan, very specific for DMOs. And there's a lot of abbreviations in our industry, but it's another word for a visitors bureau. It's called Destination Marketing Organization. So grant dollars were available to DMOs. The grant specifically was called out as the Pure Michigan Accessible Traveler Grant. So the whole purpose behind this matching grant was to make our website ADA compliant. And we still have it, our website, I think, for the most part, from somebody looking at it from the outside, still looks really good and might wonder why we need a new site. But that code is 12 years old. And so for anybody that writes code or understands code, that's really old. And not only that, it wasn't ADA compliant. And so the beauty of this grant, we received $30,000, matching at $30,000, is that we will now be able to assist those travelers who perhaps previously went to our site and wasn't able to get the information they needed. Those grant dollars were available from the Michigan Strategic Fund, the Department of Commerce, Economic Development Administration, to help destination marketing organizations recover from the effects of COVID and to address the critical need to develop accessible websites across the state. So the timing was good. We were already saving a website. We knew we needed one. And then this grant became available. Some of the last COVID dollars that were provided and some of the very few COVID dollars that were given to DMOs. As nonprofits, we didn't always qualify for all the nonprofits because we're a 501c6, not a 501c4. So we were thrilled with this opportunity. And like I said, we've been working on it for about a year, and this is just a little sneak peek. But it's coming together, and we hope to launch by the end of the month. And my final slide is just to give you a little bit more insight into kind of the behind the scenes work of the CVB staff. We offer concierge style customer service, meaning we take phone calls, walk-ins, and emails. We create and distribute the monthly events newsletter, which I shared with you. Create and distribute constant contact email blast with a list of about 20,000 people who have signed up for that. We do a summer occupancy report. And what that means is every month from Memorial Day to Labor Day, we call the lodging properties and we find out who's got rooms available. And we compile a list, albeit outdated as soon as we finish. We have it, and at least we have something to help our guests with. Some may have no availability, and some may have, 15 to 20 rooms. And so it just helps us. And then we also distribute that to the lodging properties. So in case they get someone who calls them, sorry, we're booked, they know they can refer them to another property within our district so that they still stay instead of moving on to the next community. Constantly doing website updates. We do visitor guide, bulk mails. So the visitor guide that's in your packet, not only do we distribute those all across Michigan and beyond, people call and request them. They want a print copy. They can look at it online. We have a digital copy, but some people still like the tangible thing. And so we have a pretty significant postage budget, unfortunately, but we do mail those out because we understand the importance that visitors want to have that for travel. Content creation, as I mentioned, social media, blog posts. We're constantly highlighting area businesses and attractions, encouraging people to want to travel. Local, state, national, and international media leads. We are assisting writers and photographers and film crews with photos. We do interviews, we do fact checking. We assist local scouts, and we build these custom itineraries. We hosted 3 or 4, we call them FAM tours, but really what it represents is familiarization tours. I think we had mostly from Germany this year. Austria, I'm trying to think, but all international come to us via Travel Michigan. And so we're fortunate that they send them our way. We host them. We put an itinerary together. We take them around town, take them out to dinner, put them up for lodging, all the things you would imagine, and we make sure they have a great time. We send them on the way, they write these stories, and then visitors read them and want to come. That's how that cycle works. That's part of our job. We also do tourism-related legislative oversight, and we identify and assess any risks that may jeopardize the image or brand of the Grand Haven area as a tourism destination. So we work with local leaders to resolve any current or prospective issues that may be. All right, so thank you so much. I'll take questions if you have any.
Thank you, Marcy. It's a great deal of information. Questions or comments?
I have a question. The 2% that you charge, is that the maximum that you can charge?
It is not the maximum.
What is the maximum?
Our cap is 5.
Why isn't it 5?
We are working and have been working to increase our assessment collection, like many of our neighboring communities have had some success at that. The makeup of our assessment district is somewhat unique in that we have multiple municipalities. The way the legislation is written, particularly the one that allows for us to have an increase, identifies that it must pass by majority by municipality. And so we get caught up in that a little bit, unfortunately. So,
I mean, it doesn't affect, I don't understand. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, when you go into a hotel, it's 2 or 5%, you don't know, you just pay it. So I don't understand why they're so reluctant, because does this money can only be used for your operating, or could it be used for other things in the community?
well, the rewrite of the legislation, I think P 395, does allow for some community development with that increase, giving back, which we would love to do. And we have a pretty extensive plan in place for how we would spend those additional dollars. So we're prepared to go back again and make another ask. It's a referendum held through the state of Michigan, is how it works. Every lodging property gets a vote per the number of rooms they have. And so if we have somebody who's new, somebody who doesn't live here, somebody who doesn't understand, it can hold us back, unfortunately, particularly if they're the only lodging property in a municipality and they don't understand or don't want to support it, then it can unfortunately hold us back.
Kind of backwards on that, unfortunately. I'm gonna just plug something that I care deeply about. I work up at American Dunes. And we had the collegiate tournament this year. And we had teams from Alabama and Missouri and Arizona and Florida and so forth. It struck me that a lot of these people have no idea about Grand Haven or the surrounding area. In fact, one family was staying in Holland, and somebody said, "What, did you go to the beach?" And they says, "We don't know there's a beach." I'm saying, "You didn't know there was a beach in Grand Haven?" So, you know, I just encourage, I see a lot of people coming out of Chicago area and other states that are paying huge amounts of money to play American Dunes. And I just think that it's something that we as a community should take advantage of. I've talked actually about this, I'm beating this drum way too often, and I'll be done, so if you want to throw any more about.
No, I love American Dunes, and it's
I just think there's a real opportunity, not just for you but for the chamber to get together and really try to do something, because it's on TV every day for 3 days, and it says Grand Haven, Michigan every time they break for an ad, and I just don't know why we aren't taking advantage of that. I'm off my soapbox. Go ahead.
Well, that's very good.
Thank you.
It's a good point to be brought up, because the simple fact is that a lot of people do come for that event out there, so we should somehow or another get out there and get our face out there a little bit better. But I want to say, Marcy, thank you so much for this. There's a lot of information here, and some of the things that you guys do, and I don't think people understand what you all do over there. So this would be very helpful for them. Now they can be able to go to our website and check it all out and see what's going on. I just gotta say thank you so very much. It's a lot. not only just Grand Haven, but the whole outlying areas where you cover all of this, so it's quite a bit of area, so thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks Marcy for coming in and giving us this update. I'm sure members of the public are really appreciative of it as well. I just had a couple questions. How do you and your staff coordinate or communicate and with the Chamber of Commerce and with the Main Street DDA board on, say, events for your website or for your guide? Are you guys all plugged into one another and?
I mean, we're fairly well connected. I think we understand each other's organizations and the opportunities there that we can each participate in. Particularly with the events, ours are pretty focused on, kind of we have some criteria. They need to be of visitor interest is kind of the first step, and then they need to be in our area. But outside of that, it is a challenge keeping up with all the events. We're fortunate that we have so many in this community. That's not the challenge. The challenge is really understanding who's doing them, when they're happening, and knowing well enough in advance that we can properly market and promote them. Because it is a free service, we don't charge anybody for that, but you have to let us know. We do have to go out and look, but it's just a whole lot easier if somebody were to tell us. And there is a section on our website where you can submit an event. So we always encourage people to do that. That's a current opportunity, and it will be an ongoing opportunity. Actually, it'll be an improved system moving forward. But yeah, I mean, like I said, as you can tell, events drive interest.
Yeah, I think and they're kind of synergistic. I'm just thinking, when we have our wine about winter, I've heard about people doing really big things, going in Holland, going in to stay with their girlfriends. I'm hoping that we're gonna have that, in the future especially with the downtown hotel, but also, there's nothing stopping them from doing that today if they saw that from if it was promoted, kind of jointly promoted.
And that's the tough part is we try, I say 30 to 60 days. If it's anything less than 30 days, I don't want to say don't bother, but just think of yourself as a visitor. And if you saw an event that inspired you, you have to get your girls together. You need time to plan. You got to book a hotel. You got, there's so much involved that really it's hard to get lead time for 30 days plus for some of the smaller events.
But some of these things that we're going to repeat, we're going to repeat like Bones Around About Town or the Wine About Winter. I think the Main Street DDA has those pretty much set for 2026 and knows what those dates are. But you're saying that really the way you work, we need to make sure those people are communicating to you so that you have that information well in advance.
Yeah, Shavi does a good job. She's very, with the DDA, she's great at communicating. And Mark and, we're making a point, we sit down, the three of us as directors, at least once a quarter, just to catch up and see what everyone's up to and, just have lunch and so, yes.
So you guys are, so that's good to know. The other question I had, I thought it was interesting that we had so many Facebook followers, so many more relative to the population of our area versus, let's just say the Holland area, which is a credit to you and your team. But you also mentioned your photography, and I do recall that one of the reasons why I think I follow you on Facebook is you have some fabulous photos of our town and of our iconic lighthouse of various things, and they're popping up. And that, would you attribute that as part of your success there in terms of social media? And you obviously have some really good relationships and have negotiated some things with those photographers in town, which is fantastic. But I think it's that same thing that attracts visitors, and so I thought that was a really interesting statistic just on followers or visits.
Yeah, it's fascinating, and I didn't again show you all the slides or but it's fascinating to see. We really, how the whole social media aspect works. But we were really early adopters to social media in terms of a visitors bureau, and we had someone on staff who's really good at it. And it's all organic, if you have enough money in your bureau, you can buy right? Pay per click, or, you know, I mean, you can buy your audience to some degree. That doesn't mean they'll engage with you as much, that doesn't mean that they'll stay a follower. So yeah, we're a little extra proud, I guess, of ours because we earned it the old fashioned way. And I have to say that kind of that consistent messaging, you know, always lighthearted, we're always, you know, kind of the friendly face in your social box, but the images, you know, the dynamic images, and they can't all be dynamic. Believe me, we probably have enough that we could, but we mix that up with different businesses and attractions. We tell the whole story, not just the glory shots off the beach and the sunsets, even though those tend to get the most activity. But yeah, hopefully it's diverse.
Another question I had is just within your website and your guide, how often do you have to update that, especially around food and spirits, you know, businesses? Is everyone included in the area, or how do you decide?
Right, it's hard.
To include.
It's the genuine, the grind, if you will, trying to keep everything updated. And as we were going through this process of the new website and migrating the old site to the new site, has been a real eye-opener too, seeing some businesses pop up that we know don't exist anymore, and going in and cleaning those out. The beauty of the new site, which I'm pretty excited about, is that let's say an attraction, a park, and I think businesses will as well. They'll be able to, we can assign them access to their own listing. They can update it themselves, you know, whether it be their hours or their offerings or, you know, whatever it is they're doing. We'll monitor it, of course, and make sure no one calls themselves the best ever. You know, that's always tricky, using their own words, but we'll have an opportunity to review it when they make these updates, but ultimately they'll be responsible for it'll help us. I mean, we're ultimately a 2-person staff, and we do have some interns in the summer, but it's a lot to keep up with, but we try, and we're fortunate to have some technology that sounds like it will help us moving forward.
Well, hopefully we'll have a children's museum to add.
I'm excited about that, yes.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Marcy. I think that there's no question that the visitor and tourist economy is a critical part of this community. And it's impressive how much behind the scenes work that goes into managing that. So you guys have your work cut out for you. You presented a lot of information to us tonight. I hope everyone appreciates how much you do for the community. So thank you for all that.
Great. Thank you. Thank you all.
All right, thanks. That brings us to our consent agenda. Marie, would you like to read that?
Item A, approve a special work session and regular council meeting minutes for September 15, 2025. Item B, approve the bills memo in the amount of $17,365,447.89. Item C, award the communication tower placement contract to the low bidder, Midway Electronics of Rensselaer, Indiana, in the not to exceed budgeted amount of $354,060, which includes a 5% contingency for unforeseen foundation removal costs. And item D, approve the Prine and Newhoff Professional Engineering Service Agreement, Amendment Number 1 for construction phase services in the budgeted amount of $43,500.
Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Support?
Motion by Fritz, second by Lowe. Comments or questions on any of these items? I would comment that even though it doesn't say it clearly in the agenda, that item D is about the north-south runway resurfacing at the airport. So that's what the construction phase is about. We recently approved the contract for that work. So this would be the construction management. If there are no questions, you please call the roll.
Fritz,
Yes.
Lowe,
Yes.
McLaughlin,
Yes.
Manetza.
Yes. All right, at this point, we'll open a public hearing regarding the resolution to approve an obsolete property rehabilitation act exemption certificate at 224 Washington Avenue. Parcel number 70-03-20-436-011. Legal description of the west 43 feet and the north 58 feet of lot 243 and the west 43 feet, lot 2244 original plan pursuant to the Public Act 146 of 2000 as amended. In other words, this is about the old jewelry store. And we approved recently the establishment of the obsolete property rehabilitation district, which is separate from the certificate itself. So tonight we will take public comment on the exemption certificate. Dana, would you like to elaborate on that other than reading? Please don't read the property description again.
I will not, Mayor.
Okay.
No, I think you did a great job of high-level overview. The Grand Haven Jewelry Building is the property owner rather is looking to redevelop the property to ground floor commercial and upper story residential. And as you indicated at the last meeting, City Council approved the Oakwood District. And now we are moving forward to the next step in the process, which is application for the certificate. And the developer is seeking up to 12 years of abatement, which would freeze the taxes at their current level and abate any new new tax growth for that 12-year period, excuse me.
Okay, and this also has implications for the assessment of school taxes for the first 6 years?
Correct, their application does include up to half, reduce school taxes by up to half for 6 years, yes.
Okay, and I don't know if there's anyone here from the developer who would like to speak at this point. I don't see anyone. So at this point, the floor is open. If you would like to comment on the exemption certificate in the public hearing, please give us your name and address and tell us what you think.
So I'm gonna speak today. My name is Richard Clapp, 217 Grand Ave. I'm looking at the new ballot and the November 4th of this year. And at the bottom of the proposal, or the proposition, it states that to the extent required by law, a small portion of the tax levy for the police department, which is proposed at 2 mils per $1,000 of taxable value, says a small portion of the tax levy is going to be captured by and dispersed to the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority of the City of Grand Haven and the Main Street Development Authority of the City of Grand Haven. Now, I can only assume that this is directed towards that Brownfield redevelopment money is going to be used for the redevelopment of the Grand Haven Jewelry Store, which that's a privately owned building from my understanding, correct? Could be wrong, but I don't believe that's a public building. And basically, I'm going to speak to my contention here. Why are we using Brownfield funds and increasing taxable millage on property owners here in Grand Haven for a private property redevelopment? When we know that there's gonna be a hotel right across the street, that's gonna be a prime location for anybody that wants to open a business right there. I would argue that this is a bad idea to use Brownfield redevelopment funds and assess a taxable portion of a millage towards that redevelopment. I'm gonna read some comments from another resident, an esteemed neighbor of mine. He believes that, he thinks that, and I agree with him, this city should look at it as an individual investment, not a public investment. Yes, we would all like to see a very profitable and hopefully fashionable and well thought out business in that former facility. Just because there are federal funds potentially as matching funds doesn't mean there's a reason to match those funds with local tax dollars to support a new business entity, as in the former Grand Haven Jewelry Store project. He believes, and I believe, the city should look long-term and not mixed purpose, and understand that annual taxes from, basically, I'm just gonna leave it there. Basically, we don't believe that we should be funding that with local millage taxes, because we think it has a lot of potential with a hotel being built up right across the street. And that would be the end of my comment. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your input. Who else would like to address council during this public hearing? Anyone? So this is specifically about the Oprah exemption certificate that we're taking comment. If no one else has comment, then I will close the public hearing. And we don't have an action item this evening because our policy is that we'll gather public input and at our next meeting we'll actually take action. That allows us all to digest what we've heard, think further about it, and come forward with action after due consideration. And so we will move on now. Brings us to our first item of new business.
Item A, consideration by City Council of a resolution to approve the 3-year Northwest Ottawa County Leaf Processing Services contract with Verplank Dock Company of Ferrysburg, Michigan, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute the necessary documents. Administration recommends approval.
All right, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Fritz, second by Lowell. Ashley, would you like to explain this, or is this between?
Derek will.
Derek, would you like to explain this to us?
Good evening, Your Honor. Council Derek Hayes, Project Management Director for the city. This is just low-hanging fruit on my end, help Ashley out last couple months as I have dealt with the inner harbor dredging issues that we successfully got the Corps to continue dredging. But our contract with Verplanks was up last October, and the dredging and the leaf contract kind of go hand in hand in order to mix the dredging materials with leaves and create a compost. This contract needed to be renewed. But we didn't know where the dredging was going up until recently, and there were some other concerns Plank had and some costs, additional costs since our last contract. So it's a 3-year contract instead of 5, so we can figure out long-term where the dredging is gonna take us with some of those concerns. And so this is we're just one of 5 communities that will pass this contract. I think Ferrysburg was taking it up tonight as well. And Spring Lake, Village, Spring Lake Township, and Penny Township are also part of that, so.
Yeah, questions for Mr. Gatos? So Derek, one thing, and I asked Ashley this earlier today, all 5 municipalities who are participating in this must pass this for it to take effect?
Correct.
So if we pass it, someone else says no, it's back to the drawing board?
Yeah, we would have to share that cost between the remaining, let's say 4, if one did not. We don't anticipate that, but if that is the case, you might see me back here, but I don't believe so. The contract was supported by all the staff members at those communities.
Questions, anyone? Okay, please call the roll.
Fritz,
Yes.
Lowe,
Yes.
McLaughlin,
Yes.
Manetza.
Yes. Next item, please.
Item B, consideration by City Council of a resolution to approve an introductory resolution for a zoning change request from MDR, Moderate Density Residential, to B, Beech Tree District for a portion of 601 South Beech Tree Street, parcel number 70-03-28-277-017. Planning Commission recommends approval and Administration recommends approval.
Can I get a motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Fritz, second by McLaughlin. Is this a Brian explanation?
It is. Good evening, council, I'm here. So this is a request from Steve Musial, who owns that property. This is where 601 South Beech Tree is the parcel at the corner, southwest corner of Beech Tree and Waverly. It's where the Clover Bar is. So it's a total parcel size of about 1.4 acres. There is a significant portion of it, about 0.6 acres, that is behind 2 residences on Waverly that is zoned at moderate density residential. So it's the same parcel but it has two different zoning districts. You look at the zoning map, and I thought when I first saw it, I thought it was two different parcels, but it's not. And so the request is that it's not best practice to have a parcel, have two zoning districts on there. And so what the request is to rezone that southern portion, or that rear portion, if you will, to all Beech Tree. And when you look at one of the main factors in what happens when you rezone a property is, does it comply with our future land use plan? Well, our future land use plan for that is service residential, and that follows along that parcel line. So the future land use plan matches up, but the zoning doesn't match up. So that's why it's a perfect qualifier to be rezoned. And so the end result, we don't have like a development plan yet, but the first step is rezone. But one of the main reasons, according to the applicant, was because they wanted to look at doing a multiple family dwelling in that area. That is not permitted. It's only permitted on McKee Street in the moderate density residential district. And so with this, without having to go through a process of amending a street or anything like that with a key street, this is the proper protocol to say, okay, we'll put a Beech Tree district classification to it, then development plans can come forward. But as at this time, we do not have anything. So when it comes to the rezoning request, it meets all the standards for criteria in section 40-121A for rezoning. It meets the consistency with the master plan, recent development trends in the area, and it also has the capability in terms of streets, sewer, stormwater, sidewalks, and all infrastructure to be capable to serve this type of development. And so the public hearing was held at the September 9th Planning Commission meeting. There was no comments. It was unanimously recommended for approval by the Planning Commission, the City Council, and tonight is our first reading before, if it is moved forward for adoption at our subsequent meeting. So as of right now, we don't have like formal plans, but the first step is to take that zoning map. Again, we've had a couple of these that need to be corrected, and I can't foresee, I don't know why it was split the way, or it was rezoned the way it was, but these things come up and a corrective action, and we can kind of guide the property owner developer clearly with what can be done on that property.
Okay,
Question?
Thank you. Any questions, comments? So when we rezone a property, regardless of what the current owner or developer is thinking, it opens it up to a wide range of uses. Anything in the new district could go there. Do you foresee anything that could go there that might be a poor fit? I'm looking at all the uses in the Beech Tree district.
With what you have in terms of lot coverage and the way the build out is, I do not foresee that. A lot of times, that type of use would be more conducive to where that location is, not necessarily having frontage on Beech Tree or Waverly residential. It seems like that would be the higher, better use, but I haven't heard that from the developer. And I don't foresee that being an option, but it's not that they couldn't come forward with that, but I don't believe that will be the case in this situation.
Okay. Anyone else? We call the roll.
Fritz,
Yes.
McLaughlin,
Yes.
Lowe. Yes. Manetza.
Yes. This will return to our agenda in 2 weeks for our second reading. That concludes our new business, so it brings us to a report by City Council. Who would like to go first?
I'm good.
Mike?
Well, I just want to say, I went to Elk Ski Day, and what a great, for the very first time having it put on, it was well attended, it was a lot of fun. And, if you like the polka, I tell you what, there's definitely some people out there that really know how to polka, especially my neighbors, Ukanowskis.
Okay.
Len is quite the polka guy, him and his sisters. That was so much fun. And also, I just want to say one thing is, hey, what about those Tigers? We did actually made it this far now, and let's keep going. So, there we go.
All right, we knew that was coming.
I figured that.
All right, thanks. Karen? Okay. I just wanted to comment that I attended Chow Down Centertown this past Saturday. It was It was always a great time, great community event and put on by the local merchants in the Centertown district, which shows a lot of cohesion, a lot of working together, a lot of support, mutual support within that group, and I think that's just fabulous. And it was well attended and the weather was absolutely perfect. I'll take credit for that. That's all I've got.
Nothing for me this evening.
Okay. In that case, that brings us to our second call to the audience. This time, members of the audience may address council on any item, whether on the agenda or not. Those addressing council are asked to provide their name and address. Will be limited to 3 minutes of speaking time. Council will hear all comments for future consideration. Will not have a response at this time. Those not physically present who would like to may call 616-935-3203. Who would like to address council?
Good evening, my name is Michael Cansfield, 15054 Lucas Court, which is actually in Grand Haven Township, not within the city limits. I want to voice my support for the Children's Museum, but I ask City Council to remember that this is an asset for the region, not just the city. And I think it would behoove everyone to ask how other jurisdictions are going to benefit from this asset and how they're going to be involved in it. I would also ask, as part of the ongoing negotiations, to gain an understanding of what they anticipate needing in terms of parking to meet their attendance goals, and if those attendance goals involve school groups or field trips, to understand how busing or other transportation would be needed to reach the facility that's proposed. Thank you.
Thank you. Who else would like to address council? You didn't all stick around just to look at me.
Probably not.
No, sure. All right, if no one else is coming forward, then we'll close the call to the audience and that brings us to adjournment. So, thank you all for coming.
That's right.